What would happen to Earth if twilight just vanished forever? Would nights instantly turn pitch black, or would nature collapse before we even understood what was happening? There's a moment every evening, just a few minutes, that the world seems to hold its breath. The sun slips below the horizon, but the sky still glows with soft blue, orange, and purple light. That moment is twilight. It's gentle, calming, and so ordinary we hardly notice it. But what if one day twilight didn't come? Not tonight, not tomorrow, never again. The sun sets, and instantly the world is swallowed by darkness. No fading light, no colors, just a sudden drop into pitch black night. This isn't just about our eyes adjusting. Twilight is one of the most delicate pieces of Earth's daily rhythm, created by sunlight scattering through the upper atmosphere. If twilight suddenly disappeared, it would mean something enormous, something catastrophic has happened to our sky. Imagine standing outside as the sun drops behind the horizon. Normally, you'd still have 30 to 60 minutes to see the world around you. But now, everything vanishes in a single second. Their shadow disappears instantly. Birds freeze mid flight, confused. Street cameras flicker in confusion. Drivers panic. Millions of people would be caught unprepared every evening, every morning. But the real danger wouldn't begin on the ground, it would begin in the sky. Because for twilight to vanish, the atmosphere would need to stop scattering sunlight. And the only way for that to happen is if Earth's upper atmosphere has changed in a dramatic, possibly irreversible way. The question now is not a checking to what exactly would happen to our world when twilight disappears, and what does it reveal about the future of the planet? To understand what happens when twilight disappears forever, we first need to understand why it exists at all. Twilight is not sunlight directly hitting you, it's sunlight bending, scattering, and diffusing through the upper layers of our atmosphere. High above your head, tiny particles of air catch the sun's rays and scatter them in all directions. Even after the sun itself dips below the horizon, those particles keep glowing, creating the soft light we call twilight. So, for twilight to vanish overnight, something catastrophic must have happened to those layers of atmosphere. One possibility: the upper atmosphere suddenly became too thin to scatter light. Earth's protective shell could be leaking into space faster than ever before. Without that blanket of air, sunlight wouldn't bend or scatter. It would just pass straight through and disappear. Another possibility: a massive change in atmospheric composition. If the air became too clear, too transparent, then even sunlight hitting it would simply slide past without scattering. Imagine the sky turning from blue to pitch black every night with zero transition. The mechanism that softens daylight and cushions nightfall would be gone. A third possibility is even more terrifying. Something has happened to the sun's radiation itself. If the sun had a shift in its output, if its wavelength changed enough, the atmosphere might no longer scatter light the same way. The result? No twilight. Ever. But regardless of the cause, the effect is immediate and global. Twilight disappearing means Earth's sky has fundamentally changed, and that change would trigger consequences we can't ignore. The very first day without twilight would feel wrong in a way you can't quite describe. People would notice it during the evening commute. Normally, the sky slowly fades orange, pink, purple, blue. But now, the sun drops below the horizon, and within seconds, the sky collapses straight into pitch black night. No transition, no softness, no warning. Streetlights would struggle to keep up. Drivers would slam their brakes. Birds would panic and crash into buildings because their internal clocks rely on the gradual fading of light. Farmers would see their animals confused and stressed, refusing to sleep or returning early to nests. But the real shock comes the next morning. Instead of a brightening sky that slowly prepares your brain to wake up, darkness would reign until the exact millisecond the first sliver of the sun appears. And that sunrise would be violent, an instant blast of daylight instead of the gentle blue glow we've known our entire lives. Many people would wake up disoriented, nauseous, or even anxious, because the human body depends on twilight to regulate circadian rhythms. Plants that use twilight as a cue for opening and closing leaves would malfunction. Flowers would stay shut. Photosynthesis cycles would drift out of sync. Nocturnal animals, owls, bats, insects, would suddenly lose the natural cue that signals the end of their hunting time. The first 24 hours would feel like living on a malfunctioning planet, and deep inside, everyone would sense what scientists already fear. If twilight disappears, something has changed in Earth's atmosphere, maybe permanently. Weeks pass, and Earth begins to behave like a planet that has lost part of its soul. Twilight isn't just a beautiful moment, it's a critical environmental system, and without it, everything that depends on gradual light transitions starts to break. Migratory birds begin making catastrophic mistakes. They normally use twilight to navigate, relying on the angle of scattered sunlight to align with Earth's magnetic field. Without it, their internal GPS goes blind. Millions begin flying off course, disappearing over oceans, or landing in the wrong hemisphere. Entire migrations fail. Insects, especially pollinators, are hit even harder. Bees use dawn light to time their trips. But now, the sudden burst of daylight at sunrise shocks them, causing delayed activity. Flowers that depend on gentle morning twilight to open properly stay closed or miss time their blooming. Pollination rates plummet. Some plant species simply stop reproducing. Predators and prey lose their natural timing. Many species rely on the dim, shifting light of twilight to hunt or hide. Without that delicate glow, nights become dangerously predictable and sharply divided. Some animals starve, others overhunt. But the biggest consequence? Earth's temperature starts swinging wildly. Twilight acts like a planetary dimmer switch that softens heating and cooling transitions. Without it, the temperature jumps between hot days and freezing nights more violently. Crops begin to fail. Weather patterns destabilize. In humans, we start to feel the psychological strain. Living transitions between day and night disrupt hormones, sleep cycles, and mental health. Anxiety and insomnia become global. Twilight wasn't just decoration, it was a stabilizer one Earth desperately needs. Months after twilight disappears, scientists scramble to understand what could erase something so fundamental from our sky. Twilight is created when sunlight scatters through tiny air molecules at specific angles. So if twilight vanishes, it means the atmosphere itself has changed in some deep, terrifying way. At first, researchers suspect extreme pollution or volcanic dust, but those would increase twilight, not erase it. The real answer may be worse. Earth's upper atmosphere may be thinning or collapsing. Without the high altitude particles and gases that normally scatter sunlight, the sky becomes brutally binary full sun or complete darkness. No gradients, no glow, no warning, a sign that something is dismantling the planet's protective layers. If the atmosphere continues thinning, Earth could begin losing heat into space faster than ever before. Nights would become colder, radiation would increase, auroras would intensify and spread far beyond the poles, hinting at magnetic instability. Humanity mobilizes telescopes, satellites, and deep atmosphere probes. The question haunting everyone: can twilight be restored? In theory, yes, but not easily. Rebuilding the upper atmosphere would require stabilizing Earth's magnetic field, reducing escape velocity losses, or injecting reflective particles at high altitudes. Massive global engineering decades of work. But here's the scary part. Many scientists fear twilight didn't disappear because of something Earth did, but because of something happening to the sun. If solar radiation shifts even slightly, scattering angles change, twilight could vanish permanently, and Earth would be stuck in a harsh, high contrast world with unstable temperatures, failing ecosystems, and a sky that never softens again. Twilight wouldn't just be gone, it would be a memory of a gentler planet we once lived on.